I'm Karen Burniston, the designer of Pop-It-Ups products for Elizabeth Craft Designs, and today I'll be teaching how to make this. A twist circle pop-up panel card. Our theme for the designer challenge this time was set by CAS Council, and we are to be inspired by each other. And the inspiration for this card actually came from my cousin Jessica, and she was visiting me last weekend and we were doing some crafting, and she mentioned that there was this popular pop-up panel card that people were making by cutting things by hand, and I mentioned that you could do a card like that using the twist circle. So the evolution of this card started with an extremely rough prototype that I made for Jessica, and then she really went in and figured out how to perfect it. So she figured out the dimensions of the panels, she figured out that rounding the corners really helped it, collapse down really nicely, and so that was kind of all Jessica, and she wrote all that down for me so that I would be able to teach it in the tutorial. So the colors I've chosen for my birthday card are a dark pink as the backing card, and this one is cut to 10 inches by 6 inches, folded in the middle at 5, so that it ends up being a 5 by 6 card when it's done. And then for my white inner card, I wanted about 1/4 of an inch off at each side, so I cut that to 9 3/4 by 5 3/4, and again scored and folded it right up the middle. To adapt the twist circle to be a panel card, I'm going to need 2 extender arms. So each one is 1 1/4 by 4.5 inches long, and I have folded right up the middle lengthwise. The base of the pop-up platform is going to be made using the twist circle pop-up die. So that die set has this die here that cuts the base of the platform. You want to make sure that the alignment nubs are right over the fold of the card. I've pretty much just centered it in the card and used some temporary tape to hold it into place. Now, one thing that Jessica discovered in her fall card is where you put the title is going to be kind of important. If it is layered on top, you don't want it to be in a location where the panels coming down are going to hit that title and become a catch point. So my way to avoid that is to inlay the title. So what I'm going to do is at the same time, I'm going to die cut the Happy Birthday script dies from the Happy Birthday pop-up set. I'm going to put those near the bottom of the card. So after die cutting, now it's just a matter of getting the Happy Birthday dies removed. And I do just want to make sure that nothing falls out of the die, meaning all of the little pieces in the middle of the words, I'm going to need those. So it doesn't matter if they stay in the word when it comes out or if they stay in the die, or a little bit of both, as you see here with birthday. I just need to keep both the birthday and the die because I need to make sure I keep all of the pieces from the insides of the letters. So now I'll train the pop-up, and I just need to get the die off of the paper. It will do all of its cutting and scoring right into the paper, so nothing that stays in the die. First step is always just to find the center fold in both directions, so in the usual manner and then back fold. For training the diagonal folds, it's about finding the side that has the square cut, the box cut I like to say, versus the straight cut. So the box cut is the side that you want to fold towards. So I'm folding on the diagonal right through both sides of the card, and I'm always folding towards the side that has the little box cut, the little square cut. So I flip it around, do the same thing on the other side. Locate where the little box cut is. I'm looking to fold the diagonal and give it a good press. So that's just about training the folds. So now when I open it, it's going to remember those folds. And as I close the card in the usual manner, I want to pop those 2 little platforms to fold into the card. And so usually just putting your thumbs underneath and giving them a little coaxing will make them start going into the card, which is what you want. And that's all there is to it. That's training the base of the twist circle. Now, normally with the twist circle, you would use the die to cut an upper part of the platform, but we're changing the mechanism this time. So instead, we're going to switch to using those arms. So those arms that I cut earlier, those are each going to attach up behind each side of the twist circle mechanism. Now, I don't care what adhesive you use, since part of it's on a diagonal. I think that a liquid glue is probably easier, but do as you please. If you want to go in there with tape, it doesn't matter, but you want to have a nice shellacking of adhesive on the back of that little platform so that you can go in there with the arm and attach it. And I just go ahead and get the fold in the fold and go all the way down to the center of the card. So even though that means that there's a couple triangles of my arm kind of sticking too far, I'll cut those off in a little bit. But for now, it's about just getting it in there so the fold is lined up with the fold, and now that arm will travel with your platform. And then I'm just going to repeat the exact same process. So flip the card over. Now my glue is going to go on the back of the other side of the platform. Once again, I'm going to get my arm inside, making sure that the fold is lined up in the fold, just go all the way to the center of the card because I can cut off those extra triangles of paper in just a little bit. So all the way down to the center of the card, making sure the fold is in the fold, and then just give it a good press. So those arms now are going to travel with the mechanism. So they're going to come into the card as the card is closed. Since they have a fold up the middle, they will fold down flat. And now it's just a matter of taking my scissors and actually trimming off those extra little triangles of the arms that are sticking out too far. And do try to get all of those extra triangles off. I was a little bit sloppy with mine and left a little piece of them over the edge, and it made my card creak when it was done, and I had to go in there with detail scissors and trim the rest of it off. So do try to get all of the extra arm pieces of those triangles off of there. Don't be sloppy like I was. Now this next step could be done with a trimmer if you've got a good one, like I've got this new rotary trimmer that I'm still getting used to, but I kind of like. I think you can go through all the layers. If not, you honestly could just use scissors because they're shortcuts. What you want to do now with the card in the folded position is you just want to take a sliver off across the whole card. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to reduce all of the tension in the fold so that this card, once it's installed in a backing card, will be able to open up fuller, which makes your panels expand wider. So you can see I didn't take very much off, just a wee bit. It's only now going to be connected on those diagonals. You can see both sides of the cards are now separated from each other. There's even a cute little hole right in the middle of the card, and all of that little reduction of paper is going to make a huge difference when you put this card inside a backing card as far as how far you can open up that backing card. Since we no longer have a fold in a fold, it will open almost all the way flat, and that makes your panels open much, much wider. So installing this card inside the backing card is just a matter of adding a good strong adhesive. I'm using the Elizabeth Craft Designs double-sided adhesive and just kind of going around the perimeter. I'm going to start with the side that does not have the inlaid greeting because that has a special type of tape application that I need to do. But for this side, I just need the tape around the perimeter, and then I can just peel up the liner to make it sticky. Now this is an unusual way for me to install a backing card, but for this particular card I kind of need to do it this way. Because I've removed the fold, if I don't do it in the flat position, I can't see where the fold should be. But with it in the flat position, I can see the fold up the middle of my arms, make sure that's over the fold of the card, make sure that I've got a pretty even amount of red around the upper edges, and that will install one half of my backing card in. From there it gets pretty easy. I can just close the card up and make sure that the other side is sitting right on top even with the side below it. Add the adhesive to the flat parts and then close the card. Now to be able to hold the inlaid greeting, what I want to do is have my tape go all the way across the happy birthday, but I did not want my tape to stick right now to the pop-up inside the card. So my solution was to put a non-stick mat inside my card temporarily while I'm adding the tape so the tape doesn't go through the opening and just stick to my pop-up and kind of mess up things inside the card. Now you don't have to use a non-stick pad, just anything non-stick. So that could be wax paper, or let's say you've used some sheets of double-sided adhesive. You might have one of the backing sheets from a previous application of tape available. Throw that inside. Anything that's non-stick will work perfectly for this. And then it's just a matter of peeling up all the tape so that it's sticky. So making sure that this side is lined up right over the top of the one below it so that it stays straight, just close the backing card against the exposed adhesive. And that will install it inside the backing card. You can remove the non-stick pad, and now you can see how the card's going to work. It's got its arms installed. I can't close it all the way because I have a sticky happy birthday. But let's go ahead and get the inlaid greeting into the happy birthday. I die cut the words out of the same dark pink as my backing card, and those are easy. I can just put them right down into the opening. They'll line up perfectly since they were cut with the same die. And now what I need to do to finish the inlay greeting is to add all the center parts from the white cut. So if any center parts are still in the word itself, then I just line the word up over the top of the inlay and press with my tweezers down through whatever pieces I want to transfer. And I can see that I forgot to do the big part of the B, so I'll just put that in by hand there. At least it's a big piece. Okay, so that's all the pieces from that. The rest of them are in the die itself. So once again, I can just line up the die right over the top of the word, use my tweezers to press down whichever pieces still need to be put in. I can see I still need the center of the D, the center of the A, and that will complete that word birthday. Do the same exact thing with happy. So the only piece that I have in the word itself is the little piece from the H. So just line up the white word over the pink word, press down the little piece that needs to go in. The rest of those pieces are still sitting in the die, just nest it in into the cut, use my tweezers to press all the centers of the letters, and that will transfer them. And there you have it, a perfectly flat inlaid greeting. So my pop-up panels are going to be made from a piece of cardstock that's 9 inches by 3 inches and then scored into fourths. So that means I need to score it 2 1/4, 4 1/2, and 6 3/4. And then the folding of this will be accordion style. So it will end up looking like the letter W if you look at it from the side. Jessica mentioned on her card that she felt like after she rounded the corners that it had a better operation. It would slide easier into the closed position because those corners were rounded. So I took her advice and I'm using a corner chomper at a 1/2 inch radius to go through all of the layers and round the corners of my panels. So my panels are going to attach out on the ends of my arms, and I'm going to use them to decide how far down I can put my tape. So I'm just taking one panel width and marking a pencil line on the end of my arm so I don't cross that with the tape. And I want to make sure the pencil lines are on opposite sides of the fold. So on this arm, the left arm, I'm putting the tape on this side of the fold. And then when I go over to the other arm, I'm putting it on the opposite side of the fold. And that is very important for the function of this card, that the panels only attach to one side of the fold and that they are opposite on either arm. What I did is I just marked the center of where my pop-up panels were. I just thought that would help me make sure that when I'm attaching it to one side that I've kind of got the center pencil line about centered over the fold of the two arms. So what I'm doing is just attaching one side of the W, and then rather than stretch the other side across, I'm actually going to close up the card and let the card tell me where is the right location in the flat position, because that's really important that it folds down flat. So I want to make sure that I let the card choose the position of the other arm by doing it in the flat position. And you'll notice that there's even a little bit of arm sticking out past the panel. That may or may not happen when you do it, but by letting the card choose the closed location, it's just a really good idea to do it that way. And then since I was in the business of trimming, I actually thought that I would trim the extra half kind of at a little bit of a diagonal. And that was really just basically for aesthetic purposes. I just thought that little corner sticking out there, I didn't really like it. And so it's kind of extraneous anyway. So I just took my scissors and went in there at a little bit of a diagonal and removed that. The white cardstock I used was very lightweight, and in hindsight, I wish I wouldn't have done that, because right here you're going to see why. Uh-oh, it kind of was catching and it didn't want to slide in. It actually wanted to bend my arms underneath the platform more so than it wanted to slide in. It was an easy fix for me because I just cut some pieces of the pattern paper I was going to put on my card and used them decoratively on both sides of the platform, and that stiffened it right up, and it just made such a huge difference in the operation. So you can see it's now gliding just right into its closed position. So if you find that it's hitting, it could very well be the weight of your cardstock. The fix for that is just to add some decorative pattern paper. It will both make it really fancy underneath as well as improve the operation. Karen Aiken is my muse for the Inspired Challenge as far as the decorating goes, and I love her technique of taking the frame edges that fit the ring accordion and using them instead as banners and bunting across the tops of her card. I just think that is such a clever repurposing of that die. And then the other Karen Aiken card that really inspired me was this one, where she made a two-tone spatula from Props 8. I loved the way that looked. Definitely wanted to do something like that on my card as well. So I did not film myself decorating up each of these panels, but what you've got is you've got 4 little panels to decorate. You can do them any way you choose with any kind of dies, any theme that you want. I did a birthday theme, so I pulled out my various props and the stars from the Happy Birthday and the Happy Cake Day from the Just a Note clear stamps. And I wanted to add my ring frame edges like Karen does, but I wanted to do that after I'd already installed my decorator panels into the pop-up. And that way my banners can travel from panel to panel. So I wanted those to go all the way kind of across the pop-up, so I installed those afterwards. So this is primarily a technique video. I wanted to show how to make the panel card. It's very generic. You can use it for any theme. I didn't want to double the length of my video by making you watch all of these decorations. So I'm just speeding up the video so you can see me kind of finish the card. But if you are interested specifically in how I decorated this particular card, your best bet is to head on over to my blog post. Now, how do you get there if you're not there already? I always float a little information card on the YouTube video. It's in the upper right corner. If you move your little mouse over there, or if you're on a mobile device, just go up in the upper right corner and see if that little information bubble is there. And that should be a click right over to the blog post associated with this card. And that's true of all of my videos. They always have a blog post associated with them that shows pictures, maybe some additional tips about the decorating, and a full supply list. So if you fall in love, for instance, with this glue bottle that I'm using, which I love as well, you will find a link to that glue bottle when you go to the blog post or even in the About section on YouTube. Now, I am rarely a person that would use white for a card, especially when I'm doing inking, because as always, I end up with ink on my fingers, which ends up on my white cardstock. I had a little smudge of ink below Happy Birthday, so my solution was just to add a piece of the pattern paper down there. I needed to pick up the Y out of the inlay so that it could go over the pattern paper. Just like that, it covered up my little smudge. And then I continued on with that same pattern paper in the other panels of the card, making sure that I didn't create any catch points. So I need to watch where it collapses down to make sure I didn't put a catch point underneath where my panels are collapsing down. Now, I thought a fun look for the front of this card would be to repeat the look of the 4 panels, but in miniature. So I started with a piece of cardstock that was 6 inches long, 2 inches high, and then scored it every 1.5 inches. And that gave me that same little 4-panel look. I rounded the corners and decorated them. And it's like a miniature version of what shows up inside that pops up. And to maintain that little bit of an accordion look on the front of the card, I used carefully placed pop dots. So the pop dot would be out on the outside edge and in the center, and that way it would still maintain that little bit of an accordion look. So the Inspired Challenge has definitely been one of my favorites, and the teams as well. If you will head over to the blog post, if you're not there already, you will see not only photographs and information about this card, but you'll see all of the team's inspired creations as well. Speaking of inspiration, thank you so much to Jessica and to Karen for the inspiration for this card. If you like my Facebook page, Karen Burniston Designer, you'll be treated to daily inspiration. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you'll always find more ideas on my blog, KarenBurniston.com. Thanks for watching.